So we're going to kick it off with Stephen Wren from Palatial XR.
All right. Hey guys, my name is Stephen, and today I want to talk to you guys about Palatial and how we're making real-time experiences more accessible for all creators. So, can I get a show of hands? Who here is a 3D creator? Okay, a lot of people. I mean, for an event that's called 3D New York, that's pretty expected, right? So, as 3D creators, what do you enjoy doing?
Making stuff.
Making stuff. Good answer. Who here likes optimizing geometry? Wow, we got some psychos in the back. What about flipping normals? Okay. Again, okay, you should come work for us. I personally enjoy journeying imaginary spaces and then bringing them visually to life. And that's why I studied architecture. But in school, I discovered this thing called VR and the underlying technology that powers it, real time, that allows you to take something fictional and make it feel real. And I think to me that felt like magic, because if reality is what we perceive, and now we can control that perception, then dreams can literally become reality. And so ever since then, I've been on a journey to see how far we can take real-time and XR. And I think right now we're right at the very, very beginning of what is possible. And I also believe that very soon, everyone is going to be using this technology. Let me explain why using a project that I worked on for the Tokyo Olympics. So our job was to tell the story of 3 Olympians and their personal journeys to become athletes through a mixed reality experience. The first way we use real-time on this project is as a way to communicate an idea. So we created an immersive video that brought the clients on a journey through the experience and helped them feel the emotional impact of what we were proposing. And this was loaded into a headset and sent to the clients, and it got passed around the company and stirred up a lot of excitement and ideas about what it could be, and it ultimately convinced them to buy in on the idea and move forward with the project. So real-time can really be the ultimate sales tool, because it makes ideas and emotions behind those ideas feel real. So the development moved ahead, and this was a large project, so there was a lot of moving parts between the technology partners at Microsoft and marketing partners at Huge and teams on the client side. It was a lot to coordinate, so to get everyone to work together and deliver a cohesive final experience, we had to help create a room-scale mobile VR experience that was updated with new designs as they came in and then sent to the client and stakeholder teams to allow them to walk around the space. And whenever we got people inside of it, there was kind of this aha moment where they could really finally understand the scale of the space and how the experience flowed in a way that is not possible through pictures or videos or words. And it just led to a lot of productive conversations that identified issues that would have only been discoverable with a physical prototype or, God forbid, the final building. And so real-time can be the ultimate visualization and collaboration format because it enables us to build shared understandings and ideate more effectively. Okay, so unfortunately, we all know what happened in 2020. The Olympics went remote, and everything that we had planned kind of went out the window. But luckily, many of the same real-time assets that we had created could be readapted and repurposed for an entirely new public-facing experience that was on the web that allowed audiences to explore the content at their own pace. And so, while we never got to experience the final implementation of the design, this way of working allowed the overall campaign to speak to people globally and generate viral engagement that ultimately helped the project reach 1 billion people worldwide. And so real-time can also be the ultimate audience engagement medium because it gives us the flexibility to adapt content to formats that connect with audiences wherever they are. And that's kind of the promise of real-time, that you can do all of these things. Share ideas, get immediate feedback, create in a more iterative and engaging way seamlessly across realities. Sounds pretty good, right? Except what I just told you is not entirely true. Yes, real-time has the potential to do all of these things, but the reality is that it took 5 different teams the better part of a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars to pull it off, meaning that for most people, working like this is out of reach. And it's a real shame because it means that outside of high budget productions and very specific workflows, the benefits of real-time and immersive technology hasn't really been felt by most people. And so the first reason is because getting things into real-time formats is super difficult, especially with performance-limited formats like VR or web. There's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to make things look good but also run fast. And even simple things turn out to be not so simple. But if we were to break down time actually spent by developers working on this stuff, most of it is actually spent doing tedious, repetitive tasks like data prep or optimization that, while boring, still takes a pretty deep understanding of game engine technology to be able to do right. For example, I clearly remember staying up all night trying to figure out why the frame rate of the experience was so low, and then finding out the next morning that it's because someone imported a bottle that was 2 million polygons in the back corner of the room somewhere. Okay, so the second problem is that every real-time format has different requirements, and the work done for one format does not necessarily translate over to another. So with the VR component of the project, we started off with a completely set up 3ds Max scene that was used to create the immersive video. But then it took nearly 3 months to put it into a Quest headset experience, between translating assets in different softwares and optimizing them to hit performance targets, which I think is pretty ridiculous and obviously an incredibly wasteful process, because we're doing the same work multiple times. And then the final issue is that it's actually pretty difficult to share these real-time experiences. Yes, once you get the people inside of them, it's smooth sailing, but getting out to people halfway around the world still requires doing things like sideloading that a non-technical person really can't do without additional help. So for this project, we actually had to fly to clients a headset that was loaded with the application, which kind of defeats the purpose of working digitally. So unfortunately, part of what this causes is high friction, and experiences often get used at the very end of the process, and it leads to situations where clients all of a sudden have flashes of inspiration the night before the project is due. Okay, so to summarize, real-time has the potential to allow creators to communicate effectively, work faster and more iteratively, and tell more engaging stories. But right now, creators are having trouble even getting things to work, and workflows are fragmented and manual, and experiences are too difficult to deploy or share. These are problems that cut across industries, from architecture to simulation to virtual production. And the only way that many of these projects get done is because a lot of passionate people have burned the midnight oil to will them into existence. That's why I started Palatial, to simplify the entire process of building immersive content by automating the busy work and creating collaborative and iterative workflows between teams and clients so that anyone can create interactive content quickly without having to learn new software. So here's how it works today. You can take any 3D model built in Rhino, 3ds Max, or Revit, export it, and send it to Palatial through our web dashboard, where there's step-by-step instructions if you need it. And then you upload, select some options to process, and then that's it. In the background, your files are getting transferred and processed in the cloud, where we're automatically analyzing the scene using a custom machine learning algorithm to understand what's inside of it and apply optimizations contextually. So here's some of the things that we're doing. First of all, we're starting by looking at the scene and identifying duplicate meshes, textures, and materials, and cleaning it up so that it doesn't blow down your file system. And then we're generating instances for repeated assets to make them render faster. We're merging geometry in a way that respects the scene hierarchy so that you can still edit it afterwards. For lights, we optimized their ranges to reduce overlap and create approximations when necessary. But we also balanced their exposures so that it doesn't look like there's a nuclear bomb that went off in your scene. We're setting up nanite across the whole scene, including for transparency objects and plants. And finally, we're applying case-specific fixes for materials and meshes, like repairing normals. And I think it's important to say that while you can do many of these things that I'm talking about here by hand, we've taken the time to really make sure that this works across hundreds of different scenes from different industries to cover all the edge cases that otherwise might cause the file to crash or have incorrect results. And we're also doing this in a way that allows you to update the file iteratively and then edit the scene afterwards. So when all is said and done, we're able to take complex architectural scale scenes spanning multiple city blocks from 5 frames a second all the way up to 30 to 60 frames a second on desktop hardware, all without any human input. So this is an example of a crazy scene that we worked with Heatherwick Studios to process. Once this is done, we can generate a cloud shareable link that lets you view the experience from any browser, so that in 10 minutes to a few hours, depending on your file size, you can go from a 3D model to a fully interactive and realistic experience where you can interact with the scene, adjust the lighting or weather, view it from any angle with all your cameras automatically imported from your 3D software, and then you can securely share it with your entire team or clients wherever they are using a link, and you can password protect it if you need to. As an aside, this is our developer Karina, and I've sent her a sort of datasmith file on her phone, and she's now uploading it to Palatial so that she can create a pixel streaming experience from a phone, which I'm not saying you should do, but the fact that you can do it is pretty cool. Okay. We've designed Palatial so that you can iterate collaboratively directly from your design software. And then, if you want to take your scene to the next level, you can export it as an Unreal Engine project that's optimized but still designed to be easily editable, so that you can add stuff like 3D context, custom assets, bespoke interactions, or even add it to a custom application of some sort. And soon, you'll be able to re-upload that Unreal project back onto Palatial, optimize it again with your custom content, and then put it back onto the cloud as a polished and customizable web stream. Over time, you're also going to be able to bake your project down to a specific output, such as VR, mobile, or others for distribution, so that you can finally send your model to the VR headset in one click. And so, if we take a step back, what we're trying to build is a 3D translation engine that allows content to flow continuously between designers, developers, stakeholders, and audiences, so that teams can work seamlessly together from anywhere, across applications and use cases. We want to ensure that real-time and XR actually live up to their potential, so that every creator, regardless of technical know-how or access to high-end hardware, can bring their ideas to life. Right now, we're just taking our very first steps towards that goal. We began testing with our first users a couple of weeks ago, and while it's definitely still an alpha, we're already seeing it make a real difference in creators' workflows. And we're going to be rolling out access to new waves of customers over the next few months. So I invite you to sign up to try it out for free, or find me afterwards, because we're building Palatial for all of you guys. So I want to hear your suggestions and feedback. I think the future is going to be really exciting for 3D creators. Thank you for your time.